already. So I normally start by turning the fuel valve on. Fuel starts to drip immediately. I give it 3 seconds to prime, and then I hit the starter, and it usually starts right up. Once the engine's running, go ahead and turn on all the instruments. It'll take them a moment to get started up.
Dine on Skyview.
So most of our instruments are on this single glass panel display here. It's broken up into a right and left side. The left side is all your primary flight instruments, and the right side is all the engine instruments. So here you have a synthetic view representation of what's out in front of us, with sky and ground. This green line is the taxiway, and that's the paved runway over there. And you can see some terrain off in the distance, like the Pikes Peak out there. So it's just a crude representation of what you should see out in front of you. This is the airspeed indicator. Now we're not moving fast enough for it to pick anything up, but you'll see a number there, and the tape will kind of scroll on the side, and then the altimeter here, and the same thing, the tape will scroll as we increase or decrease altitude. So we're currently at 6140. And you have the compass here, so we're oriented at south at 181 degrees right now. And you have other information on here. This little arc right here and the tick marks are for your angle of bank. Right now the wings are level, so, the two little notches are level, but as the wings become banked, you'll see those. So you can, as you look at it, you can tell your angle of bank. This yellow line right here is the pitch attitude, where the nose is. In flight, that'll be on the horizon in level flight. Right now, the tail is down, and the nose is up, and it's showing that, what we're seeing here. On the engine side, you have the engine RPM. We're at 1150 RPM, and it's got the analog needle that kind of gives you a graphic sweep of RPM. This is all of our fuel information here. This is our current fuel flow in gallons per hour, 0.9. How much fuel we've used, how much fuel is on board, 11.9 gallons on board. And that's an estimate of how long we can fly at that current power setting. So idling, we can go for the next 12 hours.
Yeah. Is the graphic representation there based on GPS?
Yeah, it's got a terrain database on board.
Oh, wow.
And it references our GPS position. That's our GPS antenna right there. And it places us on the terrain, in the database.
That's neat.
So this is all of our cylinder and exhaust temperatures. So these are our cylinder head temps. So we're all in the 200s, which is good. That's where we want to be. We want to be below 300 generally. And these are our exhaust gas temperatures. Right now we're showing some yellow here, some warning temperatures, meaning we're a little bit low while we're just idling, so it's in the low range of EGT. And then we have our oil pressure at 58, which is good, right where it should be, and our oil temperature. Again, it's a cool day right now, so oil temperature is in the cool range. We want it to be up in the green range of about 160. So that just tells us the health of the engine. Everything is warmed up, it's ready to fly, we got plenty of gas. This is our voltmeter here, so the alternator is pumping out plenty of voltage, so we're not going to drain our battery in flight. Everything is good. So before we go, I got the parking brake set. We'll do a quick run up. and just check to make sure that both ignition systems are working. It has dual redundant ignition on the engine as a safety feature. So I advance throttle up to about 1800, and I just check each ignition one at a time. So there's running on just the left ignition. The engine's running fine, got a little bit of an RPM drop. Back to both. You can see it picks up just a little bit. And then over to the right ignition. Same thing. Right ignition is working fine, a little bit of an RPM drop. Back to both. And that verifies that both systems are indeed working as part of that redundancy. And then we just check the controls. Make sure that nothing's binding. Everything's good. So the final approach area is over here. Make sure that no one is getting ready to turn base or final. And we got a radio set. I haven't heard anybody on the radio. So I don't see anybody. I think we pretty much got the place to ourselves.
Yep.
So we'll do our final check. Switches are all good. Throttle, fuel valves on. Canopy is closed and locked. Seatbelts are secured. GoPro is going. And trim is set. And we're ready to make our radio call for departure. Springs East traffic, Sonic 604 Charlie Mike, departing 35 left, Springs East. Alright, I'm going to set 1 notch of flaps for takeoff. You can see the flaps drop down a little bit, out on the wing. That'll help us get off the ground just a bit quicker. One final check of the runway. No one's on the runway, no one's coming. Alright, ready to go?
Alright.
Bring the power up, let it accelerate. We're steering with our feet. Runway center line, airspeed is coming alive. Let the airplane continue to accelerate to takeoff speed. There's 55. And a little bit of back pressure, and we rotate. And we're climbing out. Bring the flaps up. Let it accelerate. For a normal climb out, anywhere from about 75 to about 90 is pretty typical climb speed. You get a faster climb if you slow it down to 75, but you don't get quite as much cooling air into the engine, so the engine tends to heat up. So taking a little bit slower climb but at a faster airspeed gives you a little better engine cooling and works pretty well. Get up above this turbulence. That wind is coming out of the northwest, and so it's spilling over the mountains, and kind of sets up some waves. And that's another airplane going into a different airport, Lyman, which is about 50 miles out that way.
Yeah.
These small, uncontrolled airports sometimes share frequencies, and so you got to be careful that you're actually listening to people at your airport and not thinking that that guy they just called in over at Lyman is talking about Springs East. So you'll hear them, they'll start off the radio call with, Lyman area traffic or Springs East traffic, something like that. And then oftentimes they'll finish the radio call with the same thing, Springs East or Lyman or whatever, just to make sure it's very clear who they're talking to, because we do share this frequency.
Lyman meeting traffic, RV 7 Delta Tango, left stage, runway 3470.
Yeah, we're smoothing out a bit. We'll go up just a bit more here and level off. So this instrument here, because it has airspeed, what we're currently flying, and it has GPS, it can compare the two. And it knows which way we're going, and so it can do the math and triangulate over the ground and calculate wind speed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's telling us that currently we're at 356 degrees at 26 miles an hour. That's the wind speed. So it's coming just not quite out of the north, slightly to the northwest at 26, 27 miles an hour. And then it's giving us our ground speed over the ground. So 101 miles an hour over the ground. Which is important if we're going someplace, then we got to be able to, it's our ground speed that counts. And then it plugs it into our fuel burn. It says that our current fuel burn, we can fly for an hour and 23 minutes and go 149 miles before we're out of gas. If we bring the power back, lean it out a little bit, you'll see these numbers change as it dynamically recalculates our range and duration. So you got a vent here. If you want that air, you can leave it. If you don't want it, you can close the flapper or direct it away from you. Yeah, still getting some turbulence coming off of the terrain. Unfortunately, we may not be able to get out of it. We may have to just bounce around for a few minutes.
Yeah, okay.
If it becomes really uncomfortable, let me know. And we'll look for a different altitude or slow down a little bit. If you're okay, then we'll just sort of soldier on through it.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
Okay. I don't know how familiar you are with the Colorado Springs area.
Somewhat, yeah.
So that big cluster of trees, that's the Black Forest.
Right.
And then the Air Force Academy is just over against the mountain over there.
Right, see it.
So if we were to go straight on this heading, about 40 miles, we'd run right into Denver International.
Right, yeah. It's off to the northwest a little bit, you have Centennial.
Yep. And so obviously we got Pikes Peak back there and then Cheyenne Mountain off a little further to the south. Alright. I'll just do a couple of turns just to kind of show you the airplane here. So again, it's very sensitive. You don't have to do a whole lot. You can see that, the airplane's fairly well trimmed out. I don't have to do a whole lot continuously. So if we got a little bit of a turn or the nose is wandering, I may have to put a little bit of pressure on the stick to kind of make the airplane do what I want it to. And think of it in terms of pressure. I don't have to move it a whole lot. I just have to put a little pressure to make it do what I want. So if I want to turn that way, I just need a little bit of pressure on the stick. And you can see I'm flying with one finger. If that's too much, well, a little bit of pressure the other way. If the nose starts to drop, a little bit of back pressure to hold the nose up. It's real easy on this airplane to over-control. The more you over-control, the more rapid you got to start moving the stick around. Is because it feels like, you know, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose control of this thing if I don't wrestle it. And that's not it at all. It's all about a nice light touch. And so if we want to do say we want to keep turning around to the south, I got my bank angle set, I don't need to do a whole lot. If the nose wants to drop on me a little, I might need a little bit of back pressure in the turn. So I'm holding a little bit of back pressure. If I overdo it, I'll notice the nose comes up. See how the nose is coming off the horizon?
Right.
I'll see my speed start to drop. We start to climb. Well, that's too much back pressure. If I release a little bit of it, the nose starts to drop back to the horizon. Just find that nice little spot. There we go. The speed will stabilize, my altitude will level off. I'll start to accelerate again. And I found the right amount of back pressure to hold the consistent through the turn. And then, okay, I'm heading back to the south. I want to roll the wings level. A little bit of pressure the opposite way until the wings are level. Real easy on the controls. Real light touch. You know, I like to say just hold it with 2 fingers. And just, you know, you can even grab it from the top of the stick so you don't intend to overdo it. If you got a real tight grip on it, you know, sometimes you'll be applying pressure and you don't even realize it subconsciously, you know. So just a nice, easy grip on the stick. Go ahead and grab it. And just keep us generally going south. We want the nose about on the horizon. That's about level. So right now we've got a descent of minus 200, 300 or so. So right on the horizon is about level. It'll be a little different for you because you sit a little taller than me.
Yeah.
But you'll find that, you know, that level attitude right about there is perfect. And that'll change as we burn gas. It'll change a little bit. As we go to a higher power setting or a lower power setting, it'll change. The nose has dropped down a little bit. We're starting to accelerate. And you can actually hear the engine start to change pitch a little bit as the prop starts to unwind as we descend. And so all those little cues you'll start to pick up on. The pitch attitude, the sound of the airplane, the engine, all that. Okay, it's kind of hard to see, but right out there at 1 o'clock, 1:30 is the airport. You can see the long hangar building just past the green crop circles. You know, on a direct angle.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
That's the airport right there.
Yeah.
That long white hangar is a good, it stands out well against the background. So just to kind of stay oriented on where we are, we're right close to the airport still.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a turn out to the east. So just do a nice easy turn to the left. Now what you'll notice is that if you deflect the stick and hold it there, you'll continue to roll. And if you hold it, we'll just continue to roll until we're all the way upside down. So you deflect the stick to start a roll, and then when you find the bank angle, you take most of it back out again. And it just needs just a little bit to hold it in the roll.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned that in the simulator with my father-in-law.
Right.
Start your turn, end your turn.
Yep.
And in between, you're not really doing anything.
Yep. Every airplane is a little bit different. Some airplanes, if you put it in a bank, it'll just stay there until you run out of gas. Other airplanes will naturally tend to level back out. Now, most of the roads out here are aligned to the 4 cardinal directions, so it also makes it real convenient for navigating, just roughly. So we can see that these roads are going east,
Right.
and we're not going quite east, we're going kind of southeast,
Southeast, right.
and it makes it real easy to stay oriented. Now, if you look right out off our wing, that's Bullseye Airport, a big strip of concrete out in the middle of nowhere. Right out over there.
See, I mean, no buildings or anything.
What's that?
No buildings or anything.
Right. It belongs to the Air Force Academy. It's their practice airfield. When they bring the cadets over to go fly, they come over here and do practice over there.
Oh.
They have just a very tiny little operation building and a lawn maintenance building where they keep a tractor and stuff like that. But nobody's out there unless they're doing something. They'll bring a person over to man the tower. That's another real good visual landmark because it's out in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing out there. Let's turn back to the north and see if you can fly right along this road right here that goes off to the north. So the bank angle that you have right now is 20 degrees. This is considered a standard rate turn. 20-degree turn. So for most of your turns, that's pretty much typical. So we're moving along pretty good right now. We're doing 178, 175.
Wow.
Over the ground, we're doing 147. Because we got that 27-mile-an-hour headwind. Okay, so as we go to the north, we're just going to get the feel of the airplane. We'll just do some gentle kind of turns back and forth. I'll demonstrate. So I got the airplane. So we're just going to do just some gentle kind of S turns You know, turn 15, 20 degrees off course, and when we're using the road as kind of an indicator of our course, and then turn back to the side. Again, until we turn 15, 20 degrees, maybe 30 degrees off, and then we'll reverse and go back to the other way again. We're just kind of straddling the road, just kind of doing some zigzags. Come back and zigzag the other way. And that helps you kind of get the feel of the airplane. And okay, go ahead. You got it, you're flying. And again, just nice and easy. Now, one thing you'll notice is that anytime the wings are banked, the nose will tend to drop a little bit.
Right, you hold a little left in a turn.
Yep. And so you need to apply just a little bit of back pressure to kind of compensate, kind of hold the nose up a little bit. And the greater the turn, or the greater the bank angle, the more you got to hold the nose up, because the more lift you're losing in the turn. It all has to do with geometry. The lift is always pulling perpendicular to the wing. So when you turn the wing, when you bank it, that lift is pulling sideways in addition to up. Part of your lift vector is pulling into the turn, not up. And so you have to pull back on the stick and make more lift. Okay, why don't we do a 180 and we'll go back the other way. That was a guy calling in on a 10-mile final. He can probably barely see the airport at 10 miles.
Yeah.
And he's just going to barrel on in, you know. That's one of those cases where if there's nothing going on, then there's no problem doing that. But there could be another airplane flying the pattern, just not talking on the radio. You could come barging in and cut somebody off or something like that. It's kind of considered bad etiquette, but it's not strictly prohibited. Okay, let's try a 360 to the right. You're at 8,900. Try and keep it about 8,900. And we'll just do a nice complete 360. The goal of this is to get the feel of how much back pressure it needs in the turn. The steeper the turn, the more back pressure you need. We're not going to do a very steep turn, so it'll just take a little bit of back pressure. So you can cross-check by looking at the altimeter and seeing how you're doing. Primarily you fly it on sight, about where the pitch attitude is, where the nose is on the horizon. As you gain experience, you'll be able to tell right about where the nose needs to be. How'd that feel?
That's good.
Good. Okay, let's do one to the left, and we'll shoot for a little bit steeper so you can feel the difference in back pressure. Not super steep, but go ahead and roll into a bank, and I'll show you about what. A little bit more. Right about like that. You can see our speed of our turn really accelerates, you know, when we bank those wings a little steeper, make a much tighter turn. As with that other turn would take us a couple of minutes to get all the way around. This one will do it in half that time. That was pretty good.
Yeah. Lyman traffic, 60 Romeo, turning left main 34, Lyman, Lyman.
I think we're going to head back over towards the airport. It's back over that way. So let's make a 180. Not quite a 180 because we're going to kind of head to the northwest. We'll get turned around here. See those green fields up there?
Yeah.
There's several sets. The one kind of in the middle over there is the one we want to aim for. Over this, you can see this white square. It's a subdivision right there.
Yeah.
So we'll go right over the subdivision, right to that middle set of green fields, and that'll set us on a perfect line right back to the airport. I want to bring the power back just a little bit. What we want to do is we want to slowly make our way down at about maybe about a 200 or 300 foot per minute descent, down to about 7,000 feet. So we got about 8,500 now. We want to drop down 1,500 feet as we're kind of making our way back. So we can see our rate of descent. If we keep that around 200 or 300.
It's kind of hard to see there.
Yeah, the glare sometimes gets you. Sometimes you got to kind of shield it and do. The one thing I don't like about this particular instrument, I need to get a little like shade I can pull up and block the sun. Yeah, now that pitch attitude that you have right there is just about perfect. You just kind of hold that. We'll be cruising on back, and that ought to work out just fine. back down in the turbulence. Getting beat up again.
Yeah.
We'll slow down a bit. The volts won't be quite as hard. Now from here, aim for that crop circle up to the north up there. We got the two that are right up next to each other, back beyond, and then the one kind of off by itself. Aim for that one off on the right by itself. Alright, if you look over here at our 11 o'clock, there's the runway. You can see the long white hangar building over there. Kind of out in the middle of that brown field.
Yeah.
Alright, so as we approach the airport, we got to start looking for other traffic. We're listening on the radio to see if anybody's talking. We're looking in the pattern to see if there's anybody, in the downwind or coming in. I don't hear anybody. I don't see anybody. We're right at the right altitude, so. Okay, I'll take it. And from here, we're going to turn back in and enter the pattern. Yeah, that's right. I didn't give you any camera time.
No, that's okay. No, the stick time was more fun.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you had about 35 minutes of flying time. Looks like the winds are still pretty consistent on the ground. Sometimes the winds up top will be doing something different than on the ground. Alright, so we'll bring the power back. Put in a little bit of elevator trim. And our first notch of flaps. That'll allow us to start getting slowed down and configured. So the goal here is to be lined up with the runway on our descent path, nice and stable at the right airspeed. Yeah, we're looking pretty good.
We're off to the right.
I'm going to land on the dirt.
Oh, okay.
I like to operate off the dirt. It just has a nice soft feel to it. Everybody thinks I'm kind of crazy, but that's what I like. And right before we touch down, we just sort of flare, lead off our speed, let the airplane slow down at 1 foot of altitude. When we touch down, pretty much done flying. Aside from these bumps, which I kind of forgot about the bumps. That's alright. A couple of bumps just keep it interesting.
Yeah.
Now, normally runways are bigger, longer, wider, all that. This is a very small runway, and that dirt taxiway is even smaller yet.
Yeah.
But your skill level builds, confidence level builds, you can start to use smaller, tighter areas, things like that. Plus, you know, practicing on a narrow runway forces you to be precise.
Right. Yeah, that's, to me, that's the hardest thing, getting aligned on that runway.
Yeah. All right. 48 minutes. That was a good flight.
Wow,